Today, on this Sunday of Matthew, we heard quite a famous gospel reading of Christ walking on the water. Many times in our culture, you'll hear when somebody thinks they're very cool, people say they think they can walk on water. He thinks he's so cool he can walk on water. This is where it comes from this gospel reading. If any of you have been on one of our Jerusalem trips, this took place on the Sea of Galilee in northern Israel, in the city of Tiberias, where many of the miracles we hear in the Gospels take place, not far from the monastery that still exists today of the Holy Apostles. And as Christ walks towards the boat of the apostles who were being ravaged in a storm, and they were afraid, they see this figure walking on the water. Any of us, of course, would be shocked by this. And it says that they screamed. They thought it was a ghost. They were afraid. And Christ says, "It is I." The fathers of the church tell us that in our life, we have an opportunity to see most of our problems as this type of storm. And within the storm, to hear the words, "It is I." And it gives us a different perspective on how to deal with tribulation in life. I'm sure many of us would agree that some of the most blessed and happiest people we know are people that went through a lot in life. Think of our parents and grandparents, the immigrants that came and left the most terrible circumstances in Greece and in other countries. And they came to America enduring it all, typically not complaining, very happy with very little, even though they accomplished so much, sacrificing typically not for themselves, but until their dying years, sacrificing for their children and grandchildren. Peter, of course, wants to test Christ and see if it is really him when he says, "It is I." And he says, "If it's you, invite me to come out on the water as well." And he says, "Come." And Peter, of course, walks, takes a few steps, and he's probably excited at first, and then he feels the weight of the wind, the force of the wind, and he begins to fear. He's afraid. And it says in the gospel, when he becomes afraid, he begins to sink. I'm sure, like me, many of you have felt that you were sinking in life. Different moments in life where fear and other things drive us down. The good news is, for me and for many of you, I'm sure, that it is quite comforting knowing that Peter, the chief apostle, just like us, had moments in life where he sank, where he was afraid, imperfect, vulnerable. In 2020, I'm sure many of us have felt this fear and vulnerability for various reasons. And today the gospel reminds us that we have an opportunity within all the chaos to hear the words, "It is I." This too will pass. We must be cautious without being afraid. We must care for one another without being overtaken by the chaos of the day. And perhaps very soon we will have many more moments of walking on water and fewer moments of sinking.